You think this is some kind of game? I pulled this from your floor? You want to tell me why it's covered in blood? Huh? Because right now all I see is broken glass, a busted door, and you standing here like none of it matters.
I don't know what that is.
You don't know?
Step away from the door. Your home isn't meant for you. Maya froze, the sound of authority crashing through her living room like a thunderclap. The door had been kicked open, her sanctuary violated, and all assumptions about her, about who she was, were being thrown back in her face. But the moment everything seemed lost, the officer's eyes widened, disbelief replacing aggression. He had misjudged her, underestimated her life, and now the truth hit him like a shockwave. This is the story of a black woman's home raided by a drunk officer, and the moment he realized who she truly was. Comment your city below. Before the night that would change everything, Maya Ellison lived a life defined by quiet routines and steady determination. Her small craftsman-style home sat on a calm street lined with oak trees, the kind of neighborhood where porch lights glowed softly and people waved as they walked their dogs. She had chosen this place carefully, a safe haven after years of climbing her way out of hardship, focusing on her nursing career and building a peaceful life with her husband, who was away on a business trip that week. The house felt different without him, but not lonely, just still, like it was holding its breath. Maya had just returned from a long shift at the hospital, the kind that left her muscles aching but her heart full. Helping people healed her, too, in ways she rarely admitted out loud. She slipped off her shoes, poured herself a glass of water, and let the soft hum of the heater loosen her thoughts. Nights like this were predictable, comforting. She liked them that way, but the world outside her windows wasn't as calm as her living room. Somewhere down the block, a car rolled slowly past, the engine rumbling in a way that didn't match the neighborhood's usual sounds. Maya didn't notice. She was thinking about calling her husband to tell him she missed him, about warming leftover pasta for dinner, about the simple and familiar things that made up her everyday life. She didn't know that the officer inside that car, disoriented, influenced and spiraling, had already broken protocol hours earlier. She didn't think he was circling the street with blurry judgment and a head full of reckless anger he wouldn't admit. She didn't know he was seconds away from choosing the wrong house, the wrong door, the wrong woman. All she felt was the gentle rhythm of safety. But sometimes danger begins long before it's visible, long before the knock, the shout, or the crash. And on this night, something was shifting around her, quietly tightening like a storm cloud forming, out of sight. Maya believed she was settling into a peaceful evening, but peace was the first thing that would be taken from her. Maya's calm evening was shattered without warning. A loud, forceful knock echoed through her home, jolting her from the soft hum of the heater. Her heart skipped, instinctively tightening around caution. She peeked through the peephole and froze. A man in uniform stood there, his face flushed, his eyes unfocused, yet brimming with authority. There was no polite introduction, no explanation, just the kind of presence that demanded compliance. Before Maya could speak, the door rattled as he shoved it open. Shock paralyzed her for a moment. "Officer?" She started, but her voice wavered. He ignored her entirely, stepping inside like he owned the space, like the carefully curated life she had built meant nothing. Her living room, the very place that had felt safe minutes ago, suddenly felt alien. Questions raced through her mind. Was this a mistake? A call gone wrong? But something more profound, older and heavier, tightened around her chest, the unspoken knowledge of how the world often judged her by the color of her skin. She had read about it and heard stories from friends, colleagues, and patients. Yet facing it herself felt different, raw, personal, suffocating. He began searching, tossing cushions, rifling through drawers, barking at her to move aside. Maya's protests were gentle, polite, and almost unheard. Every command he gave, every assumption he made the room shrink, made her small, invisible, unsafe. The disbelief swirled with fear. This was her home, yet she was being treated like an intruder. Her mind flashed to the hospital, to the countless lives she had saved. To think that in her own sanctuary, she could be reduced to suspicion, humiliation, helplessness, it was a bitter, cruel irony. A part of her wanted to scream, to demand accountability, but she knew how quickly confrontation could escalate. She had seen it before, read it in headlines, and now, living it, the tension was suffocating. Time stretched, the minutes thick with dread. Then a sudden pause. The officer froze mid-step, his eyes widening as he glanced at something or someone on the wall, perhaps a framed certificate, maybe a photograph. Recognition sparked, fleeting but undeniable. The aggressive energy faltered. His face, once flushed with reckless authority, now paled. Maya's pulse raced, hope and fear colliding. This wasn't just an ordinary stop, and it wasn't just random injustice. It was the kind of moment that could flip everything upside down in an instant. And in that frozen pause, as the officer's gaze lingered, she realized the storm outside her window had nothing on the one brewing inside her home. The silence screamed louder than any command or insult. And then, the weight of revelation began to tip the room, teetering on the edge of chaos. In the next heartbeat, everything would change. The officer's hand trembled as he stepped back, the authority he had wielded moments ago evaporating like mist. His eyes darted across the room, landing on the family portraits, awards, and subtle reminders of Maya's life, a life he had assumed meant nothing. Recognition hit him like a cold wave. The woman he was about to humiliate, the one he had invaded without cause, was connected to a world he hadn't expected. A world far beyond his assumptions, far beyond the biased lens he had carried that night. Maya's chest tightened. Fear and disbelief mingled as she watched him struggle to regain composure. For a moment, silence hung, thick and suffocating, broken only by the faint ticking of her wall clock. Every second stretched endlessly. She realized how close she had come to a tragedy no one would have reported correctly, how easily assumptions could have destroyed everything she had built. Then came the moment that would sear itself into her memory forever. The officer stepped back, lowering his hands, almost too late to correct the irreversible, yet powerless to undo the tension he had unleashed. His eyes met hers, wide with guilt and confusion. Maya felt a surge of vindication, but also exhaustion. Her home had been violated, her peace shattered, yet the injustice she faced was now undeniable to him. In that suspended moment, a quiet yet unshakable truth settled. Her identity, her life, her worth could never be assumed or dismissed again. The storm had arrived, and the scales of power were trembling. Dear audience, where are you watching from? Drop your city name in the comments. The officer finally left, his departure silent and awkward, leaving Maya alone in the aftermath of fear, disbelief, and relief. The house, once a sanctuary, felt scarred by the intrusion. Her pulse slowly returned to normal, but the echoes of injustice lingered. She had survived a confrontation born not from her actions, but from assumptions about her race, assumptions that could have ended far worse. Every room whispered reminders. The vulnerability of a single evening, the fragility of safety, the invisible line society draws before even saying a word. Maya sat in the quiet, reflecting on how a life built with care could be so easily threatened by ignorance and bias. But she also felt the power in her resilience, in her ability to withstand what many would have crumbled under. The incident was more than a personal violation. It was a mirror of a world still grappling with systemic racism, where authority could be wielded carelessly, where a person's worth was often measured by skin color before character. She realized that sharing her story mattered, that her experience could give others strength, spark awareness, and ignite change. Fear had knocked on her door, but courage remained. Maya would not let silence become her companion. Her reflection lingered with a question that stretched beyond her walls. How many more lives are quietly shaken by assumptions and injustice before the world wakes up? Thanks for watching. Subscribe to our channel for more powerful stories and new videos. Share your thoughts, reflect on this injustice, and ask yourself, when will bias stop deciding lives?